Hello and welcome to My Arts and Crafts. I'm Libby Hoffmeister and today I'll be sharing a watercolor print technique using mica stains. Kelly Taylor had showed this on her video and I will link that video in the upper right corner as well as in the description box for you to check it out because she has another take on it. But I was playing around with this technique and I was testing it and I decided to try it with mica stains, which you'll see later in the video. But I'm just going to get to the basics here. To start with, I'm cutting with the die from Pink Brush Studio, the stained glass plate, and I'll cut that 3 times, one out of watercolor cardstock and then the other 2 out of some thin cardboard. I will also do the same with these ice cream cones. I will cut 2 from thin cardboard and 1 from watercolor paper, and I think I did about 3 cones, and then I wanted to try it with the layers, so I did 1 set of layers and then 3 sets of the cone. I actually ended up doing 4 sets of the regular cone, but I did that later after I figured out I wanted another set, so yeah. So I'm just going to cut all of this out. I've sped it up a lot because you don't need to see the whole process of die cutting. It's pretty simple, and this is already a longer video for me, so yeah. Next, I'm just going to glue all these pieces together. So I put the 2 pieces of cardboard on the bottom, and then the watercolor piece will go on top. And since these are so small, I'm just dabbing it in the glue to help to pick it up, especially for the little pieces on the that make up the checkerboard kind of on the cone. So yeah, that's a easier way to do that. And so I'll just finish that up. And then I will also do the same thing with the stained glass plate. I just did not show it on camera here, but I simply layered it up just as I'm doing with these ones. And you want to make sure that they're just really nice and secure and they have dried all the way before you get to the next part of this technique. So yeah. Next, I'm going to take some inks. You can use any inks you'd like for this. I'm using a mixture of Concord and Ninth and also some Distress Oxide inks, I believe, today. So, yeah. For the layered cone, I decided to start with this one, and I'm using grapefruit, sorbet, and honeysuckle for each of the layers. And then I used wheat for the cone. And then I brought in some ground espresso of Distress Oxide for the other pieces of the cone. It does look a little bit of like greenish on the screen, but it does look more brown in person, so yeah. Next, I'm just taking some thin pieces of paper. These can just be scrapped paper, that's what I have here, and I'm spritzing these die cuts, and then I added the piece of paper, and I also added the embossing mat and the embossing plate from your die cut machine. This might be different if you have the universal plate system. And I tried it and I got okay results. I was not exactly happy with it. I added a piece of scrap cardstock under and above this piece of watercolor paper just so that none of the excess got on my die cutting plate. And I did this for all of my layers, but I wasn't really getting the results I wanted or that I had seen on Kelly Taylor's video, so I decided I'd just keep playing and keep trying. So here I'm going to use honeysuckle for one top, and then I will use buttercup for one and oceanside for one, and then I'm going to use wheat on all of the bottoms. And this one I'm just using the very base layer of these cones, so yeah. And then I'm dabbing them into the ink pad. You can swipe the ink pad on top. I just found this to be a little bit easier. So yeah. And then I'm coming in with the wheat here. And I will add that to my die cuts. You want to make sure you have a good layer of ink on here so that it moves quite a bit. And so yeah. I started with just the basic technique here. Again, I'm just going to spritz them with water. I will add them to my cardstock. And I have a shim and then the cardstock, and then I will add or not a shim, a tiny piece of paper, and then a very thin printer paper, the cardstock, the die cuts, another thin piece of printer paper, and then the embossing mat and the embossing plate. I also have the base plate under all of this, so yeah. And then I decided I would bring in my heat tool and dry it a little bit, but I was still not getting amazing results here. So I decided to just dry these, and I would come back. I actually ended up inking up these little die cuts a little bit more because I wasn't loving the color that had faded from these, so I did go in and ink them a little bit more. And then I tried some more because I still wasn't happy with it. So I brought back in this first one that I did, and I was like, okay, I'll just do it again, and I'll try to add some mica stain to the cone. So I added some mica stain to the cone. This is the Merry Mint, I think. And then I added some wheat to the bottom as before. I spritzed the wheat one with water. I did the same plate technique, and then I dried it, and I still was not loving it. But I liked it more than the last one. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try this one more time. I will add some more mica stain to the top and some more wheat to the bottom, and I'll try this one more time, and I'll just see. So here you'll see me, and I will bring in it again. Sorry, this is a little blurry. It gets better here. And so I added some more of that mica stain. You can tap off a little bit of the excess if there's a lot, but you still want it to be wet so that this technique works. And then I decided to try some ground espresso ink for the bottom. Again, I sprayed it and added it there. I did the same exact plate sandwich, and then I ran it through my die cutting machine, and I still wasn't in love. It was kind of similar to the last one. It was just not, it wasn't like I had seen in the video, and I kind of wanted something a little bit more bold. So I was gonna quit there, but then I forgot that I had this cover plate off to the side, so I was like, okay, I guess I'll just do this one since I have it. So I decided to ink it up in multiple different sprays. I think I have Merry Mint, let me check, Fortune Teller, and the pink is the Cocktail Party. I just inked those up in thirds, and I brought in this sandwich. This is a different sandwich, and that's what I was doing wrong, so I want to make it so that you have the exact sandwich that you need. I also spritzed this mica stain onto a piece of cardstock that you can use for future projects, which I will show later in this video. So I have the base platform, then the embossing mat. I have a little piece of printer paper here, and the cardstock is in between these two pieces. I also added the die cut in between the two pieces, and then I added the embossing plate on top. And this gave me absolutely amazing results. I can't wait to use this some more. So then I just heat set this so that it was really, really beautiful and pretty, and it wouldn't rip the paper or anything. And once I heat set it, I pulled it away, and this gave me amazing results. I can't believe I didn't think to do different plate sandwiches until that point, but it was totally worth it because this is such a beautiful plate to do it with, and it turned out amazing. The debossing in this is just spectacular, and I love the mica stains with it. I highly recommend you try using the mica stains with this technique. And again, you can go to Kelly Taylor's video for more and different information from what I'm sharing here. But yeah, so I just pulled that die cut away from it, and it was amazing. And I totally love how it looked. I will also keep that other piece for a card that you will see in the future here. But yeah, it's very, very pretty. So I decided, since I didn't love these, I would splatter them. So I'm coming in with some white splatter, and then I will also splatter them with a little bit of the mica stain to kind of tie it in together, and give it a little bit of something else, because I wasn't really loving these ones that I had here. And I don't use all of these backgrounds today because I just didn't love all of them, but I will definitely use some of the pieces. To start, I embossed a panel that is an A2 size panel, so 5.5 by 4 1/4, with the Optical Arches embossing folder from Spellbinders, and I just added that to the card base. And then I will add these ice cream cones onto this piece. This is the one where I had the pink, the yellow, and the blue ice cream. So I just, I did re-ink these, and then I splattered them, and I will now add them onto my card. I'm just going to do 3 across in a horizontal, layout. and I have my T-square ruler so I can line them all up. You probably don't need that if you don't have it. And then I'm going to add my ice cream cones on top of these, and yeah, that will pretty much finish up this card. I have a sentiment and some embellishments, but it's pretty simple, and I really love how this one turned out, despite the fact that I wasn't in love with what I had after my first attempts. I think this card turned out pretty good. And then I just added some sentiments. I foiled these with my Glimmer hot foil machine using the Spellbinders Mini Everyday Sentiments and some matte gold foil. And then I just cut them into pieces, and I'm adding them to this left cone here. And then I will just come in with some little embellishments. These are just some nice kind of like iridescent white sequins. I thought I was going to use maybe some gold pearls, but I ended up switching or changing my mind and going with the sequins here. And I think these just play really well into the colors of the ice cream cones and kind of reflect all of them. So I think it was a good option to use these. And yeah, I will just pretty much glue these on, and I'm using an embellishment tool to just help me pick them up. It's a little bit easier, but you definitely don't have to have one of these. And so yeah, sometimes I cut the sequins just so that they can fit behind things better. So you can see I cut the biggest sequin in each grouping just so that they fit better. And then I will just attach them with some glue. The next one I cut a card base that is A2 out of some like dark teal cardstock to match the mica stain spray that I had on this piece. I cut this piece down quite a bit, and again I splattered this one. And then I will use another sentiment strip from that set. I have stacked a few layers of thin cardboard behind the panel as well as the sentiment to just give it a little bit of dimension. You know, I like to use thin pieces of cardboard because it's more inexpensive, and it also reuses what I already have. So yeah. And then I decided to bring in these sequins again. I cut a few of them so that they'd fit underneath this sentiment, and that will finish off that card. For these cards, these are my favorite cards. They are using the one that actually worked, the stained glass background. So this is what we sprayed onto, and you got this beautiful leftover result, and I really love how it looked. Again, I added some thin cardboard behind it, and then I cut out some sentiments using the Altenew Sweet Sentiments, I believe they are. They are my new favorite sentiments, and I'm hoping to talk about them in the future, so definitely look out for that. And then I added another one of those those mini everyday sentiments that I foiled underneath them to just add a little bit extra to the sentiment because I wanted to keep this simple and really let those backgrounds shine. So yeah, I will just add that there, and that will finish this off. I will add embellishments later. But I wanted to finish all these cards before I added embellishments to them. Next, I will just add some glue behind this piece. It takes a little while, but it's definitely worth it for the result. It's a beautiful die cut, especially with this mica stain background on it. So yeah, once I finish that, I will add it on. And again, another one of those sweet sentiments from Altenew, and a little sentiment strip to go under it. Which is kind of how I finished off all of these cards today. It just really worked with these backgrounds and let them shine and be the star of the show. So I think it worked out really well. And they're such beautiful sentiments as well. So yeah. I'm just putting an acrylic block on there to help it press down and adhere to the card base. It's a nice way to get it to adhere well and stay put. And then I will adhere those sentiments with a little bit of liquid glue. This is Barely Arts glue. I really like it. I just put it in a small fine tip bottle, and it works really well for me. I have no problems, and it's really just easy to use. So yeah. And then I will add this sentiment over top of the small sentiment strip, and that will finish off this card besides embellishments again. So yeah. And then for my last card, this is the debossed one. This one might be my favorite. I don't know. I really like all of the last three ones. They're definitely really amazing backgrounds, especially with the mica stain and the sparkle, and also the the debossing on this one. Again, I added a few pieces of thin cardboard, and then I'm adhering this piece onto the front of a white note card that is A2 sized. And then I will just press it down, make sure it adheres well. Again, using the Sweet Sentiments set and the Spellbinders Mini Everyday Sentiments for this one. Again, so pretty on this background. Really lets it shine, and it's just so amazing. I really love how this technique turned out, and I'm glad I could learn a lot from it. So definitely keep trying if something doesn't go right the first time, and just keep playing with it. You'll always learn from every attempt that you make, and maybe you'll make it something amazing. I'm so glad I saw that background and decided to try it again, because I'm really happy with the results, and I really love it. So I think this is definitely a great technique to try, and it's really amazing with mica stains. So yeah, and then I will just finish these cards off with some embellishments. These are some pearls from Pink Fresh Studio. They are the matte gold pearls, and so I'll just add some around the sentiments here on each of the cards. So yeah, to just finish them off and give them a little bit of extra shine and sparkle, another texture to this card, which I think just finishes it off perfectly. And I love how these all turned out. These are definitely some of my favorite cards I've ever done, and so I'm so glad that I kept trying to make these backgrounds. And yeah, that will pretty much finish off my cards today. So yeah. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and come back next week for a new video. If you are interested in any of the supplies I used today, check the description box below. For more inspiration, please consider liking and subscribing, and for even more inspiration, check out my Instagram and Pinterest accounts at Mica Arts and Crafts. Thank you so much again. Have a great day. I'll see you soon.